Lord. Okay, hi Carla. Thank you for joining me. My name is Shauna. I'm the founder of Apex Virtual Accounting, and Carla is a good friend of mine. She is an amazing numbers person, very confident on spreadsheets, and has her own business, The Wealth Within. And Carla, tell me about your business.
Yeah, I'm Carla Titus. I started my business back in 2017, helping small business owners bring the corporate financial planning and strategy into their business. That structure that sometimes gets missed a lot, doesn't get a lot of love or attention, but it's just super critical in achieving goals and meeting the growth of the company that those owners want to have, giving them those insights, how to get there. And so founder and CEO of Wealth and Worth Within. And I love working with service-based businesses, businesses in e-commerce or to have some sort of inventory. It's where I spend most of my time helping them grow.
Yeah, so you and I have had conversations in the past about just what does it mean to be a CFO? A lot of business owners hear that term and they don't really know how to utilize that in their own business. And when we talked, you gave me this great imagery of taking the numbers and creating the story for the business so that they know really what the numbers tell a great story, but sometimes business owners don't know how to read it. And so the CFO becomes more of the interpreter, right?
Yeah, it's like a foreign language sometimes. Numbers might just look like numbers on a page to someone who doesn't love them. But to CFOs, we're able to see trends, patterns. We're able to see where things maybe are not working great and where we need to put our focus and attention on, looking month over month, year over year. And then even setting that, future looking set of numbers that will tell a different story because we're managing it and controlling the outcomes of the business. So we spend a lot of time staring at numbers, visually helping our clients understand numbers. Sometimes that becomes a really good way for CEOs who are maybe not numbers people, they're more creatives or, are different side of the brain that works better for them. And we kind of try to connect that story through some visualization of the numbers to help them understand that story we see really easily in a profit and loss statement in many lines of numbers that they maybe can't quickly spot because they're not trained or used to seeing that. And we can help them walk through that story and what's telling us and where, again, we need to focus and change the direction or pivot and do a different strategy to make things look a little bit more what we want them to look, and achieve those profits and those targets that we want to set for them.
I think a lot of times business owners are a little intimidated by the financial statements. What does the balance sheet tell me? What is my P&L? What's supposed to be on my P&L? And
or not
so
supposed to be.
Exactly, right? Oftentimes things get on there and no, that should be on the balance sheet. And
Exactly.
So it's intimidating and they don't know what questions to ask. And you talked about this great tool where you take data visualization. You create some people are more visual in the way they learn. So
Exactly.
Do you need a graph or some kind of a chart to see what the numbers are telling you on your P&L and really what is a balance sheet? What does that tell them? Sometimes they completely ignore that side of the financial statement.
Yeah. And sometimes even like, how do I use this to manage my business and make better decisions? Like that's the big question that they're not sure how to answer. And that's where we kind of come in and plug in and become that partner in crime to help steer the business, right? We're reading those statements. We know what's happening in the business. And then we're having a conversation about what different things we want to do. The data visualization piece of this really just helps connect them to the number in a way that is easily digestible, where they don't have to struggle to figure out what's happening. We just can show a graph that has a line going up or a line going down, a line straight, and we can say, this is under control, this is out of control, you might want to spend less on this. It just kind of help us tell that. And the client feels less intimidated because they're like, oh, I get it. Is it really that simple? And we're like, yeah, it is that simple. But you need someone to guide you, right? You're not going to figure this out yourself. And then on top of that, 100 other jobs you have to do in your business as a CEO and owner or founder sometimes, you might need a little help in this department. And that's what we do, is we come in and provide that expertise, that guidance, direction. We provide some ways to absorb those numbers or data, that it's much more friendly and easy to digest, so that we can make those better financial decisions for the business.
Yeah, so a couple of things come to mind. We've both had clients who just manage their business for what the bank account says. Okay,
Yes.
this is what's in my bank today. I must be doing okay. Not forecasting cash flow in the future, what's coming in, what's going out. And so that's the role of a CFO too, is really help
Mhm.
nail down the cash flow cycle so that business owners don't run into trouble. That's a key area
Absolutely.
in the business. And when you
Yeah.
talked about, we really help guide, I think about the time that I went whitewater rafting, right? And the first time I went, I didn't have an experienced guide. And the first rapid we hit, we flipped the raft and all of us fell out of the boat. And it was so scary and just a disaster. And then the next time I went with a really experienced guide, and every rapid we hit, before we went through it, he'd say, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to paddle 3 times, and then I'm going to have you paddle backwards, and then we're going to turn this way and that way. And so I was never scared because someone was telling me and leading me along as I went. And I feel like as CFOs, that's what we do for business owners. It's like, okay, we're going to paddle here, and then we're going to turn a little bit this way, or we're going to look back and say, okay, this is how you went through this rapid, and this is what we expect the next one to be like.
Yeah, absolutely. And business owners navigate their businesses sometimes with, oops, that went wrong. I learned from it and I'm going to try something different next time. Or they can save themselves the time, tears, effort that their team have to put in to go in the wrong direction, to only find out that it wasn't the right way, and that they flipped upside down, and they have to undo all that work. And everybody's frustrated, everybody's disappointed, and they saw no results. And have that CFO say, wait, stop what you're doing, pause, let's go think about what we're going to do next to avoid having to flip upside down and waste
Mhm.
all the time, money, effort, because time is also money. And make sure that we save you all that pain, and not let you get frustrated, because we're not going to let you get to that point, and say, okay, let's go this way instead, and save ourselves all that pain and suffering, which we've seen before, because we've helped so many business owners go through those type of situations, that we don't want them to have to go through that pain, right? And so we save them the pain, we save them the time, we save them the frustration, and we steer them in the right direction to achieve that faster and quicker, and again, with less effort.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably think of a few examples where you've worked with a client, and isn't it so satisfying to be able to help take those numbers, make them a story so that they head in a different direction or they improve their profitability?
Mhm.
That's what's so satisfying for us. I know it is for
Yeah.
me, and I know it is for you because you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah, I love it. I actually start with the end in mind. And this is a lot of things that a lot of business owners are not thinking about. It's like, how much do I want to get out of this business? What do I want this business to do for me? What is the profit target I want to hit? Like, let's start at the bottom. We don't care if you make $1 million if you can't keep it and you're at a loss every year, right? It's not about what you make, it's really what you keep. And so I start with, what is the profit we want to hit? Now we know what we want it to be, and it could be a percentage. Then we can build the rest around it, because then we know how much sales we need to make based on the expenses we have, based on the profit we want to have at the end of the day. And that really helps guide the direction on what's possible. And we might not hit it all perfectly, and that's okay, because it's always a forecast. Obviously there's a bunch of assumptions that go into that, but it gives us a direction, right? So it's like having the GPS on your phone tell you where your destination is. And then you have this different things are going to happen along the way, right? You're going to maybe take a wrong turn. We're going to try to prevent you from doing that. Maybe you're going to run out of gas. We're going to tell you before you run out of gas that you need to stop at the gas station and fill up, right? Because we know
Yeah.
there's a long way ahead. And then the GPS is going to keep adjusting as things keep happening. But we still, at the end of the day, going to end up at the final destination, because we know what that is. And so by not setting that ahead of time for businesses, what happens is you go through the windy roads, you get lost, you have to turn, you run out of gas, many things, right? And that's frustrating. Nobody has time for that. And yeah, you'll get to your final destination eventually, maybe, good luck. But instead of going through that frustrating path, let's just direct you in the right direction, give you those warning signs ahead of time so you don't go through those mistakes yourself, and then make the trip leisurely and like relaxed. And it's something that, we're going to be watching out for as your CFOs to ensure that your numbers are telling the right story and getting you to that destination point.
Yeah, I love that. That's a great analogy. And also, you talked about building blocks. And it's like starting with the end in mind. What do you want your profit to be? And what are all the things that make that up? And yeah, what are your profit margins? What areas of your business are making more money and which ones are costing you more money? And
Mhm.
getting into some of the background details that are hard to see on a complete whole P&L, right? Seeing the
Yeah,
background.
exactly. We focus on like the 80% that drives, the most impact in your business, or the 20%, sorry, that drives the most impact in your business. And then the 80% is just noise. And yeah, we want to manage it and control it and be aware of it. But, there's this like 20% effort that's really making a difference in your business. And that's where we're going to focus our attention, right? The biggest expense line items that we can maybe change or adjust to make a bigger impact in one decision, right? What are the revenue streams that are driving, the most amount of money for your company? We're going to go focus on those and maybe double down on it, invest more to accelerate them. And maybe we're going to get rid of the other three that are not yielding great profitability or margins for you. Because again, we don't want to be distracted, right? We want to focus and really do the things that are working well in the business. And yes, we'll take some risks. We'll try some things. We're going to test run it in a limited capacity to mitigate some of that risk before you go all in. And we'll see the results and monitor to make sure that we're getting the results that we intended to have in the first place. And if we're not, that's okay, because we test run it, didn't work, we can move on.
So tell me this, Carla, how do you help your clients be accountable to those goals that you're setting with them? What's your process to
Yeah.
help your clients?
We are working monthly, at least monthly, to understand, is the strategy working? We set up key performance indicators so that we can early assess the direction and the path that we're going down, and if it's the right one or not, so we can pivot and adjust. So we're having those conversations and really helping through the data, looking at it, reviewing it, and saying, okay, did we achieve that goal? Yes or no? If we didn't, we need to understand why not. What didn't work well? What do we need to change? And we start having that conversation on the strategy. And then when things go well, we also want to go understand why they went well and go look at, what campaign did we run? What referrals did we get? Whatever it is that your business does to help you get to that goal. And then we say, how can we repeat that? How can we increase or invest on that more so we can do it again and even more so next time? And so when I'm working with clients, I'm looking back at the current year and saying, oh, look, your sales in April were fantastic. What do you do differently than in May when they weren't that great, right? It's a time of years, it's seasonality. We try to understand those underlying drivers on what caused a good month, what caused a bad month, and then we try to duplicate the good and get rid of as much of the bad as we can, and go from there.
Yeah, I think a lot of business owners resist that spending time in the numbers, and actually it takes time away from what they love to do. But yet it sounds like kind of fun sitting down with you and saying, okay, let's look at the numbers. Let's look at these charts. And it sounds like you make it fun and a little bit engaging so that it's not that dreaded task where a lot of business owners feel, I don't know, in my experience, like, oh, I have to sit down and look at the numbers. And
I think we all struggle with that, even for our own businesses. There's days I'm
right.
like, oh, and then I look at it, I'm like, oh my God, I can do this and change that and make a different decision here. And I see that a lot of business owners don't like to spend time on it because sometimes the numbers are not what they want them to be. And they're like, oh, I'll just ignore it and try things, and then hopefully things get better, right? But hope is not a strategy. So I rather just sit down and say, okay, this wasn't great, how can we make it better? What are the three things we're going to try? And yes, it's about making it fun because we want them to engage with their numbers. We want the numbers to inform their decisions. We don't want them to just wing it, right? Yeah, you can. You probably won't have the amazing results you could have had if you looked at your numbers. And I was having just this discussion with a client last night that struggles looking at their numbers. They're like, it's not the funnest thing for me. And we framed it in a way that it was just a conversation, right? Hey, I'm noticing this in your business. what do you want to do about that? They're like, oh, maybe I want to try this new thing at this level of price point that's different from what I had before. And let's see how that goes. I'm like, great, we're going to limit it to this. We're going to test results and come back and review that together. And they were excited. They're like, great, I get to do the thing I wanted. I get to make a different decision, try a new thing. And it's what excites them. So I always tie it back to like, why did they start this business? Why do they love what they're doing? And how can we enable more of that through the financials rather than the financials saying, no, you can't do that. No, that's not possible. Because that's a lot of the mentality, I think, um, maybe the financial professionals bring to the table. Is like, oh, no, we can't afford that. Or this is
Yeah.
not going to work.
Yeah, we
And
don't want to have
absolutely,
that conversation, right? But
yeah.
sometimes that's part of it is, switching
Sometimes we
gears.
limit, yes,
Mhm.
sometimes we limit. And sometimes I ask the question, how can we make that possible? Or like, what do we need to change to make that feasible for your business, right? Maybe you don't have that cash right now. Maybe you go do another 50,000 in sales, and then we come back and allocate 5% of that towards the new thing you want to try. So you give them like ways that they can make things possible rather than just saying, no, sorry. And yes, sometimes when it's compliance, or things that are like keeping the business legal, we're definitely not going to,
Yeah,
go
steer
down that
off the path
path and
there.
steer away from that. We're definitely going to keep them, in on the right path. But when it's something like, let's make it fun and try things, and let's monitor results and look at the numbers
Oh, shoot, you froze.
together, it's not about making it dry and boring.
I mean, that's a perfect example, Carla. It's like you're a coach. People don't always know what a CFO is, but really it's just like a coach saying, hey, okay, here's the playbook and let's choose a few good plays. And we're going to have this conversation that maybe you were dreading because you don't really want to look at the numbers, but let's make it fun. Let's make it relatable so that a business owner knows in their own language what are things they can do to progress the right direction, right? So
And that's such a key instrument that we have as CFOs. It's like, are we speaking their language, or are we just throwing a bunch of accounting lingo at them or finance lingo that makes them shy away from it? They don't want to have that conversation because they don't understand it. They're intimidated by it. Our job is to engage them and help them want to look at the numbers, and knowing that we're going to be there for them to help them understand and guide that path makes them want to do it, right? Because they're like, oh, I'm not alone anymore. I'm not operating on my own trying to figure all this out. Like, I hire someone that can help me and support me and speak my language and explain it to me in plain English. And sometimes that's all they need, right? And then they kind of know what to do. They're the masters of their business. They're the experts of it. We're just here to align them with some data and say, hey, this might or might not be working. You might want to reconsider, what other ideas do you have? And that makes them light up and want to work on it. So I find that that's like the best strategy to get my clients just excited to have sessions and talk about what we can do.
that's awesome. I mean, just listening to you, I want to work with you, Carla, because
Ah,
I'm my own
yay!
business
I love
owner
it.
as well. And I know how it feels to do
Yeah,
that struggle alone. And so much more fun when you have someone you can chat with and you can strategize with. And I sure
exactly.
enjoy talking with you, Carla. You have such great energy. I
Thank
think
you.
you're a great CFO. You know the numbers, man. You know your spreadsheets. But
I
you're
love them
also
just a little.
but you also speak the language of the business owner, so it's not just like you said the accounting jargon that's hard to understand. You
Mhm.
bring it down to everyone's level, so
Yeah.
no one feels intimidated by the
Well,
conversation.
and you're my favorite CPA. You know
Thank
so
you.
much, and I love working with you. We partner a lot, and it's because you're such an expert in that area. And I know you also do CFO services for a different niche. So it's just great to be able to partner with you and work together, and have you as my go-to expert. So I
Yes, it's a
appreciate that.
mutually beneficial relationship. It's always nice to have that when you're working in business. So thank you for taking time today to kind of explain what a
Yeah.
CFO does, and if a client is considering that need where they're like, maybe I need that. Now they have a better idea of what that might look like in their business. So I appreciate you
Absolutely.
spending some time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I had fun recording this.
Yeah, so that's good. I'll hit stop record now.